Daniel Alfredsson in the news recently. Well, it's been about a month now, but certainly the Hockey Hall of Fame decided to look in another direction once again. And you've been talking quite a bit in The Athletic and in various media platforms about how important it is to kind of, from an Ottawa media standpoint, kind of get behind the idea and push for the idea of Daniel Alfredsson being in the Hall of Fame. Can you kind of expand on that a little? Because I think the average fan would wonder, is that really the media's job?
Right. And you know what? I want to make it clear. It's not the media's like we're not cheerleading in the sense of I think there's a difference between cheerleading and advocating. If that makes sense. I know
Right.
it's a might be a subtle difference, but I think it's important because uh, I don't know that people outside of this market quite understand the greatness of Daniel Alfredsson. And that's when it becomes incumbent upon those of us that have watched him with our own eyes over the 17 years that he was here to tell his story, to make his impact known. And I think what's just a little bit disappointing, listen, Matt Sundin and Jerome McGinley are first ballot Hall of Famers. I'm not debating that. I'm not here to debate that. But I am here to debate the fact that I don't think that the discrepancy between Matt Sundin and Daniel Alfredsson is so great that one would be a slam dunk first ballot Hall of Famer and the other guy would be on the outside looking in for 5 years. Like, listen, if you wanted to pass over Alfie once, twice, 3 times, I get it. But at some point, and here's the problem though, if you're telling me I have one vote for the Hockey Hall of Fame and I can put in anybody, I would probably go Alex McGillney because I also think he is probably the most deserving guy who's not in there. And the time will come. But I just think Alfredsson, when I hear people just speak about the Sedins so glowingly and say that, well, they're first ballot Hall of Famers, I'm like, well, just hang on here a second. How come they get the opportunity to be first ballot Hall of Famers when really their statistical profile is awfully similar to Alfredsson's? And I think this is what it boils down to, Warren C. Matt Sundin was the first overall pick. Daniel and Henrik Sedin went second and third overall, respectively. Jerome McGinley was also a first round pick. Daniel Alfredsson was a fifth round pick who kind of had to punch his way up into the NHL, kind of got here a little bit late. And I'd really love to do a deeper dive down the road of like how much value we place on guys that are taken in the first round and their perception for the rest of their career versus the Alfredssons of the world, or even, Mark Stone, I think has battled this in the past. You get taken later and there's this feeling like, well, you're not quite like a generational talent. You're really good. And I think that hurts a guy like Daniel Alfredsson. I think being picked in the fifth round has hurt him. As ludicrous as that sound, if you stripped away their names and everything, and you just put their statistical profiles up, the five of these guys, the Sedins, Sundin, Ginla, and Alfredsson, you wouldn't see a huge difference amongst the five players. The one thing you would notice is that, the one guy was taken in the fifth round. And that would be the biggest difference. And I wonder if that's an uphill battle that he's still oddly fighting to this day.
I guess the Ottawa Factor is the big one for me. Just being in Ottawa for most all his career, except for that regrettable final season in Detroit. Because if I'm comparing Marian Hossa, who just got in there, like there's not much to separate. I'd take Alfie by a slim margin over Hossa, but Hossa only spent what was it, 5 years in Ottawa, 6 years, something like that, and then got an opportunity to go elsewhere, play with in a lot of cases some better talents, some better overall teams, winning Stanley Cups. And to me, in 2021, the Stanley Cup factor, that was almost an original six take. Oh, he won a Stanley Cup, therefore he's that much better. So I think the Ottawa factor certainly plays in, because I just don't think people have necessarily seen him, like you said off the top, to the degree that they should. And but I barely even chime in on these discussions. He's my favorite player. I'm the founder of the Church of Alfie, so people obviously know where I stand on Daniel Alfredsson in the Hockey Hall of Fame. The other angle, though, that I find frustrating, is among the many frustrations with this organization, is that they somehow found a way to alienate a guy like Daniel Alfredsson. This is the best player in franchise history, their longtime captain, and anybody who knows Daniel Alfredsson knows he's like the nicest guy in the universe. And yet, on multiple occasions, they found a way to alienate him to the point where He's no longer part of the organization, as everybody knows. And is there an opportunity, do you think, still? I mean, as year by year goes by, and he's not part of this organization, and he turned 49 on Saturday. I wonder if he'll lose his appetite to be part of an NHL club. But do you think the relationship could ever get repaired, or will it just take new ownership?
I think it's the latter. I like if you're asking me if the relationship between Alfredson and the current regime, and in particular the owner, can be repaired, my answer would be no. And that's me making a very, very, very educated guess on the situation. And I think it's really tough for Ottawa fans. If you go to a game at Canadian Tire Center, you look up to the rafters, you're going to see two modern day jerseys retired. You're going to see the number 11 of Daniel Alfredsson. You're going to see the number 4 Chris Phillips. Both of those guys have left the organization under less than ideal circumstances and are really kind of on the outs right now. And I think that kind of paints a really interesting picture to me, that I don't know how often this would happen. I know it happened in Chicago, did it not, for years with Makita and Hull and some of their iconic players. And I think the Islanders had some issues too with some of their legacy players and ownership over the years. So this is and Dave Keon in Toronto is probably the best example of Dave Keon just stayed away from Toronto for years and years, right, under Harold Ballard, and it really took time and a new owner to kind of thaw that relationship. So this isn't unprecedented that there's been a disconnect between a franchise icon and a franchise. But I just don't see it right now. I don't see Alfie coming back. If it had only been one divorce, Warnsey, I could say, yeah, you know what? Maybe they regroup. But it was two. It was two times that things got fractured between Daniel Alfredsson and the Ottawa Senators, and I just don't see either side going back and try to make it work a third time.